If you think you know everything about Australia, you're probably wrong. Yes, people are used to it being home to some of the most terrifying creatures that can crawl into your shoe or sweetly greet you from your front porch. However, these are only officially confirmed animals that are frightening only by their appearance or size beyond human perception. Snakes, spiders, and other creatures that everyone knows. Much more interesting are the creatures that official science doesn't like to talk about, or simply doesn't know how these creatures could have come into existence. If you dig a little deeper, it's no secret that the internet wanders version, as if Australia is a fictional continent. And it exists only to hide the real truth about the lands located there and their inhabitants. According to this version, part of Australia is inhabited by people, and the second part is blocked by a huge fence and something hides. Yes, since the 19th century, Australia has been blocked off by the famous fences that enclose most of the land from one side of the continent to the other. So the question is, from whom do they put up such defenses? But according to the official story, this fence is against rabbits. That's right, rabbits. They are constantly eating everything in their path, breeding at an incredible rate. Their number and need for food is very disturbing to human habitation. And then there's the dingo dogs, which are also a nuisance. The problem is solved with a fence. We're human and we can't just exterminate all the rabbits. We have plenty of beef and pork farms all over the world, but we have no right to exterminate rabbits. So we just put up a fence that hides most of the mainland. It's very strange, don't you think? What's even weirder is that the rabbits have long since dug burrows to get out of the fence if they wanted to. Unless, of course, that fence goes 10 feet underground. Okay, but if we take a look at old maps of our Earth, we can look at something interesting. You're looking at a map dated as far back as 1594, and for a clear comparison, a modern official map of the world. Look closely on a modern map. First come the Indonesian islands, and just below that is Australia. Now let's take a look at an old map of Australia. In the area where Australia is located, there is a large continent that is one piece with Antarctica. This area is labeled Magellanica Terra Australis. There are a lot of such maps on the internet. By the way, South America is also connected with this continent. Look. But all this topic with maps leads only to the main map on which, in addition to all sorts of geographical markings, are plotted images of different creatures living on the continent, Magellanica Terra Australis. Let's take a closer look at them. There is a wild boar, something resembling a kangaroo, some spotted leopard, rhinoceros. Well, all sorts of familiar animals. What else is depicted here? Is that a unicorn? And then there's a winged lion called a griffin, if I'm not mistaken. A one-humped camel and some other strange animals. The unicorn and the winged lion are the most exciting characters on this section of the map. And including logic, we can assume that if the map shows a one-humped camel, which now lives and thrives in Australia, then where have disappeared unicorn and winged lion? What if they and other creatures still exist perfectly well on fenced-off lands? But if you look at these maps carefully, you will see that not only in Australia, but all over the world, people met the most unusual creatures, which are now considered fiction. But are they really fiction? Most often such characters were mentioned in fairy tales. And now the main question. Why did they put fences on the Australian mainland? What real territory do they hide? And who lives on the lands of Magellanica Terra Australis, besides a crowd of rabbits eager to eat all your crops? And do not forget that if you want to pass the fence and look for a griffin there, you will not be able to. Nowhere and under no circumstances. The wall is very well patrolled. The version that by building a fence managed to save the rabbits and help people, well, somehow not very logical. First of all, at least because man has already exterminated without regret many species of animals. It is not excluded that once were exterminated these beautiful creatures, unicorns, winged lions, and so on, and now they remained for us only on pictures and in nice fairy tales. For example, if you study ancient legends, in addition to griffins and unicorns, more incredible creatures pop up. How about a mysterious creature like the Burungior? Let's get to know him better. On a peninsula in the north of Australia called Arnhem Land, some people claim to have seen a strange creature. It is worth noting that this place is little populated by people, but in fact it is a huge desert in the depths of which are inhabited by various animals. Some natives tell a story about the so-called burungior, a giant lizard that eats kangaroos. In fact, there is nothing surprising here, because in Australia live a lot of lizards, and some of them are very large. Nevertheless, according to local Aborigines, the burungior walks on 2 legs and reaches a length of about 26 feet. Some say it even has feathers on its body. Others say it snorts, spits, and occasionally growls. Apart from its staple food in the form of kangaroos, the burungior is very fond of beef. The last reported sighting of this animal was in 1985, when it allegedly frightened a family traveling peacefully in that area. Although there are no pictures of the animal, the burungior has been identified as a dinosaur. Many footprints have also been found, and plaster casts have even been made of them. Quite famous are the stories of the creepy monster from Hook Island. Almost uninhabited Hook Island is part of the Whitsunday group of 74 islands. Despite the fact that there was a nature reserve and an underwater viewing station, both of these attractions are currently closed. It's already weird, isn't it? Except for a few people working as caretakers behind the few buildings, no one else lives on the island. The beautiful unspoiled beaches are often visited by tourists who come to this island by boat. Many people swim there, but sometimes it ends badly. People die from poisonous jellyfish stings in the coral reefs surrounding the islands. And here's an interesting story for you. In 1964, Robert Laserick, his family and their friend were crossing Stonehaven Bay, which is located on the island, when they noticed a huge creature in the water that seemed to be resting in the shallows. Thinking the creature was dead, Robert took some pictures of the giant monster. The family friend jumped into the water, taking his camera with him to get a couple of good shots, but the creature lunged at the man. Luckily, he managed to get on the boat. The unknown and frightening animal looked like a giant elongated tadpole. It had no fins, and its skin seemed smooth and dark. The eyes of this strange creature were located on top of the head. Many people suspect that the photos of the sea monster from Hook Island are fake, but this has never been proven. To this day, many people still don't know what it really was. The Hook Island monster remains a mystery. Speaking of undiscovered animals, it's worth remembering the one called the banuip. Coming from Australian folklore, the banuip is another creature about which there are many legends among local Aborigines. This animal has many descriptions. This amphibious creature lives mainly in creeks, rivers, and bays. Some scientists claim that banuip was actually a diprotodon similar to a wombat, but the size of a large rhinoceros. It is likely that this creature lived in the swamps and rivers of Australia and fed much like the modern hippopotamus. Stories about this creature originated thousands of years ago, so the theory of scientists is quite likely. Others believe that banuip was a common large seal that made a lot of noise and frightened people. He was last seen in 1890, grazing peacefully near the water. With so many different descriptions of this animal, it is now difficult to say what people actually saw. And remembering the incredible, we should mention the famous Megalodon of Stevens Harbor. As you know, the fearsome Megalodon was a giant prehistoric shark that reached a length of about 60 feet. A certain incident happened once in the tourist destination of New South Wales. Port Stephens is frequented by families, sunbathers, crowds of young people, and fishing enthusiasts. In 1918, a fisherman's report states that a shark of almost unbelievable size attacked ships and ate all the fish that were caught in the nets. Those who saw the creature were terrified. They said that the giant shark was whitish in color and that the water seemed to boil around it when it swam. That's what Australia is like. What do you think about this topic? Be sure to write in the comments. Who liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.